Hello, good morning and welcome to Thoughts and Updates. We are inside once again simply because it's an absolute gale outside and getting anywhere to record can be quite difficult. So here we are, Storm Jorge or George, depending on your pronunciation. I heard somebody shouting, "We have left Brexit, why are we using foreign names?" Probably it's one of the most Scottish names alongside Mohammed and various others that the ethnically diverse country that we live in Scotland has adopted and had for many years. Let's begin with a little bit about politics. It's been a difficult week, one would presume, in normal circumstances for the government for a variety of different reasons. However, because of where we are in terms of politics right now, I don't know whether we can call it difficult, but something that caught my eye during the week, it caught my eye actually yesterday, was a story, and I have to read it to you because I need to get this absolutely right. And I wonder if we ever will have politicians who have this type of dedication. And it's relating to the first time in France's history that a politician has resigned over a sex scandal. Benjamin Griveaux, President Macron's candidate for mayor of Paris, quit after a video of him masturbating was posted online. He sent it to a girlfriend who's now a left-wing activist. 2 years ago, the video was made public by the woman's new partner, a Russian performance artist who once nailed his scrotum to Red Square. Now, Carlsberg don't do political scandals, but if they did, where's our politicians' dedication to that particular level? Because this week, Priti Patel, the Home Secretary, has had her behaviour called into question on more than one occasion with regards not just about bullying, but also with regards to her stance on immigration, as I had highlighted last week. We have one of the most astonishing resignation statements ever by any form of government advisor, where the head of the civil service has come out and is talking about having been undermined by her and now looking to take the government to court. Now, in any normal circumstances, not only would that be headline news, that would be known as a crisis in the government. But at the moment, it's not. And I'm finding it very difficult to see why, except we don't live in normal circumstances where you have people who hold the highest political office democratically, who have the ability to lie consistently and constantly without any regard to the truth, without any regard to the consequences, with anybody able to nail them to the wall for that lie. And why is it that I'm surprised that what we've got is we've got a government who are able to rule at will in a democracy? And it's looking increasingly like, and Brad, gosh, I have to say from across here, the United Kingdom have really screwed up big style by having a Conservative government in power with Labour heartlands voting for it en masse. Bernie Saunders is a guy, a candidate that very many of us over here really like. We think he's a good man. There's lots to feel very positive about. But his credentials for the public in America are a bit like Jeremy Corbyn's over here. Nice guy, had a lot of really good ideas, but, God forbid he ever got the opportunity to put them into power. So as we see the Saunders bandwagon gaining momentum and getting bigger and brighter against the big orange numpty in the White House, it is with utter dread and fear that we are sitting going, surely not. Surely it's not going to be a second term. Please, we can forgive you once, but can we forgive you twice? Well, actually, we have an arrogance for outgiving anybody because we've done it to ourselves. But politics at this moment in time is bizarre, strange. And one of the things that happened last week in Scotland was there are two rival conferences going on in Glasgow about drugs. One run by the British government, one run by the Scottish government. Scottish government have a radical, it could be said, it's not radical to me, an addict, but they do have a more progressive way of dealing with drug addiction, and they have talked about putting in place something called treatment rooms where people can go and literally shoot up. This has proved to be highly successful because what it does is it brings addicts into contact with health professionals, with support networks, with people who have the ability to talk to them, to uncover and unpick their addiction. And there's very little to think about it which is negative apart from how it looks. And I get it. It does look awful. The idea that the state would sanction addiction in any particular way is going to be picked up by people and held up as the wrong thing to do when we're trying to get people off of the type of poison which has ravaged our communities and turned them into no-go areas after a certain time at night, or places where crime can be rife, or social and mental health issues are rife and horrible and nasty, and many children are left without parents, many children without parents who function, and many children themselves end up in the addiction cycle. I get it. But to call these treatment rooms a distraction demonstrates, as the government minister did for the British government, a misunderstanding of what is being proposed. And if you don't understand that, and you're the drugs minister, and you're not actually connecting with the debate in a proper manner, how can anybody have any kind of security and safety in the thinking that you know what you're talking about for everything else? We can't. So we're going to end up with the usual, which is the war on drugs, which has failed for so many years and will continue to fail until such times as somebody stands up and says we need a very, very different way of doing this. So politics has been a bit bizarre. I've been listening to a few things in my ears, which I'll come to in later podcasts, because it's an interesting time creatively. A number of things are coming out which are really good to watch. A few of my programmes on television are coming to the end. The last season of Criminal Minds is on, which I used to watch religiously with Eve, and don't like that. And it's bizarre things have been announced that Hawaii Five-0, the reboot, which is going on now, this is its 10th season, will finish at the end of this season. And they must have known that when they were filming it, because they got a 2-hour special at the end. But the principal actor, Alex Loughlin, his back was jiggered in an early season, and I think he's finally calling it quits, and therefore it's all going to come to an end. So these are things that are important to me, keep me going. And creatively this week I have been out to a couple of performances. Now, a colleague of mine, Shauna, last year went to the Fringe for the first time and asked me for recommendations. And it happens periodically. I'm not saying that I'm asked a lot. It used to, many, many years ago, when I didn't go, get asked because I was involved in the theatre more prominently than I am now. But I gave her a couple of recommendations which turned out absolutely brilliantly. And this year I'm very, very cognisant of her coming to me and going, right, we did well last year. I know you might not do completely well with absolutely everything, but keep an eye out and let me know. So I'm going to start thinking of what would Shauna watch, because she is somebody, the theatre in particular, that person who has an educated, well-spoken professional, is the type of person that the theatre should be day and daily bringing in. And Shauna also works in an industry where her social acumen is particularly heightened. She works in care with children and young people alongside me at Inspire Scotland. So it's definitely somebody who might take a risk, but also is looking for something that is close to how they would like to be entertained, not bombarded with a whole load of facts and made to feel a little bit as if they're being lectured to. So 200 shows have already been released. It's the 1st of March 2020. 200 shows. So we already know that we can buy shows for a variety of places. The Space, I think, is the one set of venues that has the most by the looks of things. So I'll be keeping an eye out. I haven't seen anything that I would recommend yet, but something with a local flavour, certainly Scottish, something which is likely to entertain, is the key element, or the key elements of this particular cake that I need to bake. So I'm on it. I've also been to see a couple of things this week. I went to see Daddy Drag at the Tron, and We Are in Time on Friday night. Daddy Drag, girl Leila Josephine I'd seen before, and it was only after I saw the show and I did the review and I looked a wee bit back, I realised that I'd seen her before, and I really like her, and she does a fantastic, well observed dad, but there's a couple of things in the show that structurally I found I struggled with, and I had a conversation with my son Kieran about it after, just because it is an LGBT thing that I struggled a little bit with, because I was hoping that what I saw, my impression was just a minor part of it all, and yeah, to a certain extent it was. So you can read my review online, and I'm about to finish off my review today for We Are in Time Untitled Projects with Perth Theatre, Traverse, and co-production with Raw Materials from Glasgow as well, Jill Garrity, who used to be at company that I was involved in, Solar Bear, many years ago as a producer there. So that was about a heart transplant, and it wasn't a Holby City casualty type heart transplant. It was done with an Icelandic composer, beautiful haunting music, very, very different, very, very different. And you can read what I thought about it later on. So theatre's been a big part of this week. So let's end in sport. But overnight, we had 2 British boxers in for world title fights, and we ended the night one less world champion than we began it. We also had Joseph Parker back in the ring, and fighting somebody who he should have beaten, many would suggest, with his hands tied behind his back, or at least one of them, but he did beat him with quite a devastating knockout, or devastating stoppage rather. Then, during the course of the week, we had that bizarre video for Deontay Wilder that the Phoenix will rise and the war has just begun, and his bomb squad posse or gang or whatever they are, the army. It gets more and more bizarre. It looks as though the third fight is going to happen before the Olympics next year, according to Bob Arrow. Bring it on. I think it's a parallel couple of fights there. We're going to see the trilogy, and we're also going to see Pulev versus Joshua. As long as we get the 4 of them like a semi-final leading to a final, that would be great. Yesterday, in football, Ayr got back to winning ways, Rangers did not, and it certainly is going to have to be a bit of a sit down, think through for the Rangers board. Stevie G has done a fantastic job. I would hate to see him lose his job because he's not got them in the last couple of years a trophy. I think that you can argue that what he's provided Rangers with is that excitement, in a sense, quite ironically, the same way that Brendan Rodgers did at Celtic. But we are trophy laden, driven, looking consistently and constantly at certain upper echelons of soccer, of football, at success rather than the foundations laid underneath it, which would have given you the type of manager that's at Leeds, that it's at Watford, that it continues to thrive to an extent to Aberdeen and so on. So we end this weekend, or this is Sunday morning, and a bit of a storm outside and a bit of a storm all over the place. One I don't think that's going to be matched by Deontay Wilder suggesting he's bringing a storm in June. I think that's more likely to be a little bit of a damp squib. But anyway, from me for this week, as we are now into the 3rd month in 2020, who would have thought it? Bye for now.